Corin stood at the edge of the observation platform, his four eyes blinking in sequential disbelief. The Velcaran diplomat had visited dozens of worlds, studied hundreds of species, but nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for what he was witnessing at Earth's Interspecies Conservation Center. "This is madness," he muttered, his translator crackling to life. Beside him, Mara smiled that peculiar human smile, the one that showed teeth but somehow meant friendliness. She was the center's director, a woman with sun-weathered skin and eyes that crinkled at the corners with perpetual amusement. "First time at a human zoo?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Below them, in an enclosure that would make any sensible species lock their doors and hide their younglings, a human child, barely into her fifth solar cycle, was rolling on the grass with a Draxian shadow tiger. The creature was the apex predator of its homeworld, capable of tearing through reinforced steel with its crystalline claws. Its venom could paralyze a full-grown Velcaran in seconds. The child giggled as it licked her face. "That creature," Corin said slowly, "has a bite force of 8,000 newtons. Its species has a 97% hunt success rate. It's killed 3 handlers on its native world." "Oh, that's just midnight," Mara said cheerfully. "Found him as a cub in a collapsed den. His mother had been killed by poachers. Little Emma there." She gestured to the child. "She helped bottle feed him when we brought him in." Corin's skin shifted to a pale blue, the Velcaran equivalent of going white with shock. "You let your offspring near an apex predator as therapy?" "Other way around, actually," Mara corrected. "We let the apex predator near our offspring as therapy. For the predator." She started walking along the path, and Corin followed, morbid curiosity overriding his survival instincts. They passed enclosure after enclosure, each one more horrifying than the last. A family of humans was having a picnic near a pen containing a serpentine void worm, a creature that had evolved in the crushing depths of a gas giant's atmosphere, capable of generating electromagnetic pulses that could disable starships. A human male was scratching it under its chin. It purred. "You have to understand," Mara explained. "Humans have a bit of a problem. We see something young, something vulnerable, something that needs help, and we just—" She made a helpless gesture with her hands. "We adopt it. Doesn't matter what it is." "But these aren't vulnerable," Corin protested. "These are weapons wrapped in flesh." "They were vulnerable when we found them," Mara said softly. "That's what matters to us." They stopped at an enclosure that made Corin's blood run cold. A Carvathi razorback, a creature so dangerous that its homeworld had erected planetary shields to keep it contained to one continent. The species was responsible for the extinction of 2 sentient races in the Andromeda sector. A teenage human boy sat inside the enclosure, sketching in a notebook. The razorback's massive head rested in his lap. "That's Marcus," Mara said. "He found Razor when he was just a pup, caught in illegal fighting rings on Proxima Station. The poor thing had never known kindness, only pain and hunger and the roar of crowds betting on his survival. And your solution was to bring an apex predator to Earth, to let your children near it?" "Our solution," Mara said, her voice carrying an edge now, "was to show it that not every intelligent being is a monster, that some of us choose compassion over cruelty." Corin watched as the boy looked up, noticed them, and waved. The razorback raised its head, and for a moment Corin was certain he was about to witness a tragedy. But the creature simply nuzzled the boy's shoulder before settling back down. "You understand what the Galactic Council says about humans, don't you?" Corin asked quietly. "Oh, I've heard the rumors," Mara replied, "that we're Deathworlders, that we evolved on a planet trying to kill us every moment of every day, that we domesticated wolves, Corin, and turned them into companions, that we looked at the most dangerous predators on our world and thought, 'Good boy, who's a good boy?'" "It's not rumors," Corin said. "It's fear. The Council is terrified of your species. Because we adopt apex predators, because you see something designed by evolution to kill, something that every other species in the galaxy treats with appropriate caution, and your first instinct isn't to run or fight, it's to ask if it needs help." Mara stopped walking. They had reached the center of the facility, where a massive dome rose into the sky. Through the transparent walls, Corin could see dozens of species, each one capable of devastating their native ecosystems, coexisting in carefully managed harmony. There's a human saying, Mara said, judge a society by how it treats its most vulnerable members. But these aren't vulnerable, Corin repeated. They were when we found them. And that's the point you're missing. She turned to face him fully. Every creature in this facility was abandoned, abused, orphaned, or endangered. Every single one would have died without intervention. And yes, they're dangerous. Yes, they could kill us. But they don't. Do you know why? Corin stayed silent. Because they remember, Mara continued. They remember being small and scared and helpless. They remember gentle hands and soft voices. They remember that when the rest of the galaxy turned away, humans saw them not as weapons or monsters or threats, but as lives worth saving. A keeper walked past, a void worm coiled gently around her shoulders like a scarf. She nodded to Mara and continued on her rounds. The council thinks we're crazy, Mara said. Maybe we are, but I'd rather be crazy and compassionate than sane and cruel. Corin looked out over the facility one more time. He saw humans, children, adults, elderly, interacting with creatures that could end them in heartbeats. But more than that, he saw trust. He saw connection. He saw something that shouldn't exist according to every evolutionary model in the galaxy. He saw hope. Your species, he said slowly, is going to reshape the galaxy. Mara smiled again. One adopted apex predator at a time. As they walked back toward the entrance, a small Draxian shadow tiger cub, one Corin hadn't seen in the enclosures, bounded up to them. Without hesitation, Mara scooped it up, cradling it against her chest. New arrival, she explained. Found her on a smuggling ship. Want to hold her? Corin stared at the cub, at its razor-sharp claws and the developing venom sacs behind its fangs. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse. He held out his arms. The cub purred as she settled against his chest, and Corin understood, truly understood, why the galaxy feared humanity. They didn't conquer with weapons. They conquered with love.